let's start with a new chapter, which is area of plane figures. So what are plane figures? Plane figures are actually two-dimensional figures. Now we talked about two-dimensional figures, or we already know about two-dimensional figures before. So any figure which can be explained by an x and y coordinate, or which can be explained by using two coordinates, is known as two-dimensional figures. The examples of two-dimensional figures could be a square, a rectangle, a circle, anything which is on a plane. Like anything you could draw on a piece of paper is called two-dimensional figures, right? Now we'll talk about two things, area and perimeter of these figures. So what is first of all area and what is perimeter? So area is basically the surface which is covered by that object. Like if we are talking about the area of the face of this book, this is the area covered by the surface of the book, right? Now this is called the area of a figure. Now what is perimeter? Perimeter is actually the length of the surroundings, right? So if I am taking a rectangle here, right? If I'm taking a rectangle here, this portion which is enclosed inside of these four lines, right? Rectangle is made up of four lines. Now the area or the surface which is enclosed inside these four lines is called the area of the rectangle, and these four lines, the length of these four lines, right, together. So what is this thing is called the perimeter of the rectangle, right? Now we'll talk about different figures and what are the areas and perimeters of these figures. The first figure we are talking about is a triangle. So we know about triangles. Triangles basically is a two-dimensional figure with three edges, right, and three vertex. We have three vertex and three edges. First of all, let's talk about what is the area of a triangle. To find the area of a triangle, you need to know the length of the base and the height. The base is one of the sides of the triangle and the height is a straight line drawn from the opposite vertex to the base. The height is like the length of a line from the top of the triangle to the bottom along the base. The formula to find the area of a triangle is half into base into height. So how do we find the area which is enclosed in a triangle? For finding this, first we'll find what is the length of the base of the triangle. Now this here is called the base of triangle, right? And what is the height of triangle? Height of triangle is actually the altitude. Altitude is from the highest point, we'll draw a line to the middle of the base, right? Now this line represents the height of the triangle. So how do we find the area of a triangle? The equation is 1 by 2 into base into height, right? Now area of a triangle is equal to half into base into height. We could say that half into b is base and h is height. So we could find an area of a triangle by using the formula half into b into h. Now what is the perimeter of the triangle? What is the length of all these three sides? So what do? If this side is a, this side is b and this side is c. These are the three length of three sides. Now the perimeter would be equal to a plus b plus c. Now when we talked about triangles, we know that there are different types of triangles. We could classify triangles according to their sides, like according to the properties of their sides or the properties of their angles. When we are actually classifying a triangle according to the properties of their sides, we know that the triangles could be classified into equilateral triangle, isosceles triangle and scalene triangles, right? Now, scalene triangles have three sides as three different lengths, and equilateral triangle have all three sides as the same length. Now what about isosceles triangles? For isosceles triangles, we have two same sides and one irregular side, or one side which differs from all the other two sides, right? Now let's talk about how to find the area of those triangles. First, let's talk about the isosceles triangles. So what is the property of an isosceles triangle? For isosceles triangle, we have two equal sides, right? And these two angles would be same, and one unequal side. So how do we find the area of this triangle? The area equation is the same as that of what we discussed about earlier in triangles, which is half into base length, which is this, and into height, half into b into h, right? Now, what is the perimeter of isosceles triangle? We said that the perimeter of a triangle would be equal to a plus b plus c. But what is the situation here? Both sides are equal. If this side is a, this side will also be equal to a. And the base would be, let's call it b. Now, what is the perimeter here? It's 2 times a plus b. Now, this is the perimeter of an isosceles triangle. Now, let's talk about an equilateral triangle. So, what are equilateral triangles? Equilateral triangles are the triangles which all three sides and all three angles the same. Now, what is an angle inside an equilateral triangle? It's 60 degree, right? Why? Because the sum of all angles inside a triangle is 180 degree. So, therefore, the angles here would be 60 degrees. Now, let's find out the area of equilateral triangle, right? To find the area of an equilateral triangle, you need to know the length of one side, right? We find the length of one side. If it's A, the area of this triangle would be root 3 by 4 A square, right? Now, how do we find the area of an equilateral triangle? We use the formula area is equal to root 3 by 4 A square. Now, what about the perimeter of the triangle? If this side is A, this side is also A, and this side is also A. So, perimeter comes out to be 3 times A, right? Now, let's move on to the next type of triangle. Another special kind of triangle we have studied about is the right angle triangles. So, what are right angle triangle? Right angle triangles are the triangle which have one angle, at least one angle to be 90 degrees, right? Yeah. So, this angle is 90 degree. So, we have base, height and hypotenuse. We had an interesting theorem about right angle triangles, which is called the Pythagoras theorem, right? According to Pythagoras theorem, the hypotenuse square is equal to the sum of height square plus base square, right? Now, let's talk about the area of right angle triangle. Area of right angle triangle can also be said in the same way, which is area is equal to half into base into height. But what is the height here? Height would be the same as this line, right? In all other triangles, if we are taking a triangle here, we had to find what is the height here. But in case of right angle triangle, the highest point is actually in a straight line with here, right? It's perpendicular, right? So, this is the height, this line is the height, and this is the base. So, area is equal to half into base into height. That is what is written here. 0.5 is 1 by 2. So, 1 by 2 into base into height is the area of a right angle triangle. Now, perimeter of the triangle, we'll just add up all these lengths and we'll get the perimeter of the triangle, right? Now, let's move on to quadrilaterals. What are quadrilaterals? Quadrilaterals are any figures with 4 corners or 4 sides, right? Quad means 4, right? So, quadrilaterals are figures with 4 vertex and 4 sides. Now, what is the area of a quadrilateral? One way to find the area is to divide the quadrilateral into 2 triangles and then add their areas together, right? What are we doing? Let's say we have a quadrilateral here, right? Now, we divide it into 2 equal triangles, right? Now, we add, let's say this is A1 and this is A2. A1 is the area of the first triangle. If I am naming this ABCD, the quadrilateral, the area of ABCD would be equal to area of triangle ABD plus area of triangle BCD, right? Now, what is the area of a triangle ABD? It would be half into base into height, right? So, let's say for ABD, the base is B1 and H1, right? And for the second triangle, this would be half into B2 is the base of the second triangle and H2 is the height of the second triangle, right? So we put the area of first triangle and then the area of second triangle. So let's take half as common here. So this one would be B1 H1 plus B2 H2. So this would be the area of a quadrilateral, right? Now, perimeter of a quadrilateral. What is the perimeter of the quadrilateral? It would be the sum of length of all four sides. If each side is A, length of A, B, C and D, the perimeter would be A plus C plus A plus B plus C plus D, right? Now, let's talk about parallelograms. We know that parallelogram is a quadrilateral which could also be said as a slanted rectangle. So basically we have two opposite sides are parallel to each other, right? That is, this side is equal to this side and they run parallelly, and this side is parallel to this side and they are of the same length. Now, the area of the parallelogram, we could actually use a simple formula which is base into height. So for the triangles formula, it was half into base into height, and here it's base, this is base, and what is the height of the parallelogram? It would be, this would be the height of the parallelogram. So this is the area of parallelogram. And what is the perimeter of the parallelogram? The perimeter of the parallelogram would be this side, let's say this is A, length of this side is A, length of this side is B, length of this side is C, and length of this side is D. Then we could find the perimeter by adding all four sides, which is A plus B plus C plus D, right? Here what is the property? A would be equal to C and B would be equal to D, right? So I could replace C with A, right? A plus B, C is equal to A, so we'll put A here, and D is equal to B, so B here. So this is 2A plus 2B, right? Which is equal to 2 into A plus B, right? So perimeter of a parallelogram can be said as 2 times what is A? A is one side, and what is B? The length of other side. So if we take this formula, we get the area and perimeter of the figure parallelogram. Now, rectangle. Rectangle is a very straightforward, simple figure, right? Now, what is the area covered by the rectangle? Area would be is equal to this much times this, right? That is length into breadth would be the area of a rectangle, right? Now let's talk about the perimeter of the rectangle, right? So the formula of perimeter of rectangle is 2 times length plus width. So if you're taking this rectangle as an example, let's say this is the length of the rectangle and this would also be the length, right? Both the sides would be equal. Now this would be the breadth and this would also be the breadth. So what is perimeter? Perimeter is the circumference, right? Or what is the length of this thing is covered, distance is covered. Like if I'm starting to walk from here, how much distance should I travel along the edges of it to come back to this point? That is what is perimeter is. So the perimeter of the rectangle would give us length plus breadth plus breadth, right? This would be equal to 2 times length plus 2 times breadth, right? Now, what is this? This is 2 times length plus breadth. So, perimeter of the rectangle is equal to 2 times length plus breadth. Now, let's talk about a rhombus. So, what is a rhombus? So, rhombus is basically that figure which is very similar to a square but with not 90-degree angles. Just like we said that a parallelogram is a slanted rectangle, a rhombus is a slanted square. So what is the area of a rhombus? The area of the rhombus is actually what the amount of space inside the rhombus, right? Now to find the area, we use a special formula, that is area is equal to diagonal 1 into diagonal 2 divided by 2. Now let's see what are the diagonals of a rhombus. Let's take a rhombus here. We could either draw a rhombus like this, right? Consider 4 sides are equal, but the angles are different, right? Now, if this is an angle, this would be the first diagonal, right? Now, this would be, if I'm taking another line from here to here, this would be the second diagonal, right? Now, what is the area of a rhombus? Area is equal to diagonal 1 into diagonal 2. We take the length of both diagonals and we multiply it with each other and then divide the whole thing by 2. We could also write it as d1 into d2 by 2 or half into d1 d2, right? Now, what is the perimeter of a rhombus? The perimeter of a rhombus would be, if this side is A, consider this rhombus, consider this rhombus. Now, if this side is A, all the four sides would be A, it would be the same length. Now, the perimeter, let's say perimeter of the rhombus is equal to 4 times A, right? That is 4 times the length of one side. Now, let's talk about what is the area and perimeter of a square. Area is the amount of space inside the square, right? So, this side is A, this side is also A, this side is A, and this side is also A. According to the first method, we are actually dividing it into two different triangles, right? Now, if we take two different triangles, what would be the area of this triangle? This is a right angle triangle. So, that would be half into base is A, height is also A. So, one triangle, it would be A square by 2. What about the next triangle? That would also be A square by 2, right? So, what would be the sum of that? A square by 2 plus A square by 2, which is equal to A square. A square is the area of the square. Now, what is the perimeter of a square? The perimeter of a square is the distance around its outer edges. So, what is the distance around its outer edges? It's 4 times A. What is A? A is the length of one side. Now, let's talk about trapezium, right? What is trapezium? We have two parallel lines and two non-parallel lines, right? Now, for a trapezium, the area is found by multiplying the average of its parallel sides, right, with its height. The height is perpendicular distance between two parallel sides. So, the formula of area of a trapezium. Now, let's say these two are the parallel sides, right? Let's say this is of the length A and this is of the length B, right? Now, what is the average of these two sides? That would be A plus B by 2, right? This multiplied by, what is the height of this rhombus? No, trapezium. This is the height of the trapezium, right? This is the height. So, this is the equation for area of a trapezium. So, what is it? We could also write it as A plus B into height by 2. Now, what is the perimeter of the trapezium? If the trapezium have this side length A, B, let's say this side length is C and this side length is D, the perimeter should be equal to A plus B plus C plus D, right? Now, let's move on to the next figure, which is a semicircle. So, what is a semicircle? Before semicircle, let's talk about circles. So, we all know about the two-dimensional figure, which is a circle. So, circle could be explained as a collection of points from a particular distance from a point, right, in all planes, right? So, in a circle, we take a two-dimensional plane, we say that a point is the center, we take a particular distance and we actually connect all the points which are at the same distance from the center and we get a circle, right? Now, what is the area of the circle? So, if this is a circle with radius r, or let's say in this image, this is a circle, this is the center of the circle, let's name it O, and this is the radius of the circle r, then the area of a circle, area is equal to pi into radius square. Area is equal to pi into radius square, right? So, what is pi? Pi is actually a constant. So, the value of the constant is either 22 by 7, which is equal to 3.1 3.14, right? Now there's a very quick and interesting trick to remember the value 3.14. So there is a statement, may I have a large tumbler of coffee. So this gives us the value of pi. How come? Let's see. So MAY may have 3 letters. So 3, put a point, I 1 letter, have 4 letters, a 1 letter, large 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 letters, tumbler 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, of OF, there are 2 letters, 2, coffee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Now this number could be actually extended a lot. Why? Let's see the division of 22 by 7, right? 3 sevens are 21, right? Now we get a balance 10, we put a point, 1 sevens are 7, we get 3, 0, right? We have 4 sevens are 28, right? We get 2 balance, again put a 0, we get 1 sevens are 7, 2 sevens are 14, 3 sevens are 21, right? 2 sevens are 14. So it's 2 here, this is 2, so 14, this is 6. So it just goes on, right? It could be concluded to 3.142 if we are concluding this, because this is a very huge number. So this is 3.14152726. This is the value of pi, and this is a very easy way to remember the value of pi. So in calculations, we just use 3.14, right? Now 3.14 into r square is the area of the circle, right? Now perimeter of a circle. What is the perimeter of a circle? Also, area could be defined with the diameter. If r is the radius of the circle, what is the diameter of the circle? So diameter of a circle is equal to radius into 2, right? So radius is equal to half of diameter, right? Let's see how that works. So if this is radius and this is also radius, right? Now what is this whole length? This is the diameter of the circle, right? So 2 times radius becomes the diameter, and the radius is half times the diameter. So area could be written as 3.14 into diameter by 2 the whole square, right? Or we could say pi into diameter by 2 the whole square. Now what is the perimeter of a circle? So what is the circumference of the circle? We see a circle like this and it should have a circumference, right? So how much should I travel in order to completely walk around the circle? That is the circumference of the circle, right? Now to find the circumference of the circle, our equation is 2 pi r. What do? We take pi, we take 2, multiply it with r. This is the perimeter. Now let's replace the radius with diameter. So we get 2 times r by 2 is diameter, right? Now this becomes 2 pi into what is diameter? What is radius? Radius is d by 2. So we get pi into diameter is the perimeter of the circle. Now let's move on to semicircles. So we talked about circles. Now we are thinking, what are semicircles? So semicircle is the half of a circle. So just like we talked about the area and perimeter of a circle, we could just take the half of both of these and get the area and perimeter of the semicircle. Why? Because in this figure, this is actually the half of a circle, right? If there was a circle here with center this is the half of the circle. So what is the area occupied by the half of the circle? The area occupied by the half of the circle is the area occupied by the circle divided by 2, right? So what was the area of the circle? It was pi r square, right? Now area of semicircle would be pi r square divided by 2, half of it. Now what is the perimeter of the, now perimeter of a semicircle, we have to find the arc length. Why? Semicircle is actually an arc of 180 degrees, right? So arc is actually a part of the circle on the edge, right? Now what is a semicircle? Semicircle is also an arc, but what is the angle of the arc? It's 180 degrees, right? Now for a semicircle, we need to find how long the curved part or the round part and the straight part are. So we have to find what is this part and what is this part, and that would be equal to pi into r. Or otherwise, there is an easy way to look at it. The perimeter of a circle is equal to 2 times pi into r. So what would be the perimeter of a semicircle? It would be equal to 2 pi r divided by 2, which is equal to pi r, right? Now this is the area and perimeter of a semicircle. Now let's talk about ring. So what is a ring? You have seen rings and we put rings on our fingers and all, right? So what is a ring shape? So basically a ring shape is basically two circles, right? So this is circle number 1 and this is circle number 2. A ring have two circles, but the inside is hollow, right? Like things could pass through it, right? So the inside is hollow, but we have an outside surface for ring. This is the only surface present. So how do we find the area of this? See, in this case, we have two circles. We could consider this as two circles. We have a bigger circle and a smaller circle, right? So how do we find the area between these two? We have to find this area, right? To find this area, first we'll find the area of the bigger circle. That is, we'll find the area of this circle and then subtract the area of this circle, the smaller circle, from the area of the bigger circle. So we'll get the remaining area, which is this area of a ring. Now, to find the, so basically if I'm saying that the bigger circle would have r as a radius and smaller circle would have small r as the radius, the area of bigger circle would be pi r square and the smaller circle would be pi into small r into square, right? So what would be the area of the ring? Area of ring would be equal to pi into big R square minus pi into small r square. If I am taking pi as constant outside, we will get pi into r square minus small r square, right? Now, let's talk about the perimeter of the ring. The perimeter of the ring would be the perimeter of the bigger circle. So, if this is a ring, right? So, what would be the perimeter? Perimeter would be this, right? So, that is 2 pi into r. If r is the radius of bigger circle, it is 2 pi into r. Now, we have area of a hexagon inside a circle. So, what is a hexagon? So, hexagon is a 6-sided polygon, right? So, it has 6 sides. This is a hexagon. Now, we place it inside a circle where all the edges are touching the circle at one point, right? The edges are touching the circle. Now, how do we find the area of a hexagon inside a circle? So, let's say if I'm joining these two sides, okay, these two vertex, this would be R, or let's call it A as of here, and this would also be A, right? Now, let's join all these sides to here, right? Now, this side and this side would be equal, this side and this side would be equal. So, all these sides are equal to each other, right? So, as all these sides are equal to each other, we could say that it is an equilateral triangle, right? So, what is the area of one equilateral triangle? It's root 3 by 4 a square. So, how many equilateral triangles are we getting here? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So, the area of a hexagon inside a circle would be 6 times root 3 by 4 a square. Now, the perimeter would be 6 times the side of this triangle. So, 6 into a, right? Now, let's talk about converting some units to another one. When we were talking about area and perimeters, one thing we have left out here is what are the units, right? We know about different units like centimeters, which we see on the scales, right? On the scale, we see the measure calling centimeter, right? Now, we have meter scales, which actually tries to, measure the objects in the scale of meters. And we have different units to measure different lengths. Also for weight, mass and time we have things. Just like for time, we use seconds, hours, minutes to measure it. We use different units to measure the things when it comes to length. So in case of length, we have very minute to very much huge units. So basically the standard unit of length is equal to meter, and 1 meter, as we all know, is equal to 100 centimeter, right? And 1 kilometer would be is equal to 1000 meters. Now what is 100 millimeters? So what is 1 millimeter? 1 millimeter is equal to 1 by 100, 1 by 10 centimeter, right? 1 millimeter is equal to 1 by 10 centimeter, right? So what is 1 centimeter? 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeter, right? So what is 1 centimeter the whole square? Why are we taking the whole square here? Whenever we were talking about area of a figure, let's say if there is a square and we were talking about the area of the square, if this is A and this is A, we are multiplying two length here. I'm saying one side is A meters and the other side is also A meters. Like I'm saying one side is 2 meters and other side is 4 meter. We are multiplying these two things, right? So then it becomes 2 into 4, 8, and meter into meter becomes meter square, right? So here 1 centimeter now square is equal to 10 millimeter the whole square. This becomes 1 centimeter square is equal to 10 square is 100. So 100 millimeter square, right? Now 100 decimeter square. What is 1 decimeter? 1 decimeter is equal to 1 by 10th of a meter. Deci means 10, right? So 1 decimeter is equal to 1 by 10th of a meter. So what is 1 meter? 1 meter is equal to 10 decimeter, right? Now what is 1 meter square? 1 meter the whole square is equal to 10 decimeter the whole square, and we'll get 1 meter square is equal to 100 decimeter square. Like so, we have 1 acre is equal to 100 meter square, right? Now 1 hectare is equal to 100 acre, right? So 1 acre is 100 meter square, right? Now 1 hectare, acre and hectare are used to measure area only. So 1 hectare is equal to 100 acre. Now 10,000 centimeters equal to 1 meter square. We said that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So 1 meter the whole square would be equal to 100 centimeters the whole square, right? So that is the relation given here. 1 hectare is equal to 10,000 centimeters square. How did we convert this? We said that 1 hectare is equal to 100 acre, right? And 100 acre would be equal to 100 into 100 meter square, right? That is 100 into 100 meter square, right? Now convert that meter into centimeter and we'll get the answer here. Now 100 hectare is equal to 1 kilometer square, right? So what is 100 hectare? 100 hectare is equal to 1 kilometer square and 1 hectare is equal to 100 acre, right? So we have 1 acre is equal to 100 meter square, right? Now 100 acre gives us 1 hectare, right? And 100 hectare gives us 1 kilometer square, right? Now this is all about the chapter area of plane surfaces. Now what does area of plane surfaces include? We talked about triangle. The area of triangles is half into base into height, and perimeter is a plus b plus c if a, b, c are the three sides of a triangle. Then we talked about isosceles triangle, which have the same area equation, which is half into base into height, and the perimeter would be 2a plus b because two sides are similar. Now equilateral triangle, the area is equal to root 3 by 4 a square when a is the side, and perimeter is equal to 3 into a. Then we talked about right angle triangles. The area would be half into b into h, whereas height would be the height of the triangle would be, and perimeter is equal to a plus b plus c. Now, area and perimeter of a quadrilateral, we said that, we divide into two triangles and then we find the area of both the triangles and add them. Perimeter is again the, sum of side lengths. Now, we talked about parallelograms where area is equal to base into height and perimeter is equal to 2 into a plus b when a and b are the length of two opposite sides. Now, area of a rectangle is length into width or length into breadth, and perimeter is equal to 2 times length plus breadth. Now we talked about rhombus. The area is equal to diagonal 1 into diagonal 2 divided by 2, and perimeter would be 4 times the side length. Now we talked about a square. So area of a square is equal to length of one side into length of the other side. That is a. If one side is a, the other side is also a, that is a square. Now perimeter would be 4 times a. Then we talked about trapezium whose area is equal to a plus b times h by 2 and perimeter is equal to a plus b plus c plus d. We talked about circle whose area is equal to pi r square and perimeter is equal to 2 pi r, also could be expressed using diameter terms. Then we talked about semicircles. We actually divided the circle equations by 2, that is pi r square by 2 would be the area of semicircle where pi r square would be the area of a circle. Then perimeter of a semicircle would be pi into r, whereas perimeter of a circle would be 2 into pi into r. Then area of a ring can be calculated by subtracting the area of the smaller circle from subtracting the area of smaller circle from the area of longer circle or the bigger circle. Now the perimeter would be the perimeter of the bigger circle. Then we talked about the hexagon inscribed in a circle. We divided it into 6 equilateral triangles, which would be equal to, the area would be equal to 6 into root 3 by 4 a square. And perimeter of a hexagon in a circle is 6 times a is the side length. Then we talked about conversion of different units, including millimeters, centimeters, decimeters, acres, hectares and kilometers. Now this is all about the chapter area of plane figures.